my name's Annalisa. Channel. I make videos about art and about books. So if you like that kind of thing, you can subscribe, check out my other videos. Let's get started. Lately, I've been kind of thinking what I want to talk about, what is worth talking about, what's on my mind that I want to tell you guys about books, because this is going to be one of the book videos. You can tell because it has my face in it. And I realized that one that has been coming up in my blog posts a lot lately is doing things on purpose and writing rules and what makes a writing rule worth paying attention to. What's the point of studying writing when there's so much difference in opinion on what makes a good book? And so I want to make a video about that, about what I think about writing rules, how strongly some people think some writing rules should be followed, how some people think that writing rules shouldn't exist, and how people judge whether a book is good or not. So that's what this is. So one thing that is very important to me when I pick up a book, as far as whether I'm going to continue reading it or DNF it, is definitely the quality of the writing, as opposed to what the writing is about, whether the characters are strong, whether the world building is done well. If all of those things are good, but the writing is just really bad, I have a really hard time enjoying a book. And so, what makes writing bad or of bad quality? What makes it unprofessional or badly edited, as opposed to it being the writer's fault? So the first aspect that I think of when I think of quality of writing is grammar / making sentences that, 1, make sense, 2, flow well, and 3, don't make me cringe horribly. The first one, grammar, is important to me because it comes so easily to me. It feels really weird when it doesn't come easily to other people. I've read a lot, and I learned a lot about grammar when I learned Spanish in high school, because when you study a different language's structure, when you come at language from outside, as opposed to something you've just learned from acclimating to it, you learn more of the rules as opposed and like the rules as they were laid down, why they are that way, as opposed to this is just how we talk. So I learned a lot about grammar and sentence structure when I learned Spanish. But I've also learned a lot about grammar from just reading so much, and reading a variety of stuff. I read a lot of fiction, have read a lot of fiction since I was a little kid, but I've also read a lot for school. I was homeschooled, so there's a lot of reading as opposed to having a teacher lecture. Vast majority was reading. I read all the stuff. I don't know a whole lot about how public school works, but I think there's a lot more lecturing than what I got. Almost all the information that I absorbed was through reading. And I've also read a lot of educational stuff just on my own because I wanted to learn to do something like writing. I self-taught how to write better. I searched the library website for books about writing, checked them out, read them. And so in those kind of books, you learn about how to write from the advice they're giving you, but you also learn how to write from it being in written format, like the way you learn to talk from being a baby and your parents talk around you. If you read a lot, you learn how to write from just you've seen it done that way. And as a kid, almost all my friends I'm trying to figure out a not pathetic way to say this. Most of my friends were fictional characters. That's not that weird. There's a lot of people on the internet who have the same experience, but I still feel weird saying it. So I read a lot. So grammar has always come really naturally to me. I've had a pretty fast reading speed, so I've gone through a lot, and I've just read a lot. Because I had nothing else to do. Being homeschooled also meant that I got all my schoolwork done in like 3 hours, and then had the rest of the day to do whatever I want, and a lot of that was reading. And so I've learned a lot about grammar that way, by acclamation, and also by studying it in other languages. I really like languages and things, so I've learned about grammar because I love it. And I've also, in addition to formal grammar that I've learned from books, I've also learned a lot about grammar from online discussion. Not always a discussion of grammar, but the way we talk online. I've done a post about this on my blog, which I'll link below, because it really goes into how I've learned about this stuff, and how, like, on Tumblr, punctuation is used differently because you're trying to communicate very casually, just like you would in person, and it's hard to do that with the standard formal grammar or punctuation type stuff that we have in books. You want to talk in like tones and things like that, and Tumblr users have figured out how to do that via text, and it's really cool, and I really like it, because I'm a massive nerd about the written language. So that's kind of why grammar is really important to me, and why I'm good at it, why I know what I'm talking about when I talk about grammar. And that's why it bothers me, because I have bad grammar. And when I say bad grammar, I don't necessarily mean not using punctuation correctly, because I believe that language is a fluid thing. It's supposed to change. It's not always supposed to follow the rules. You're supposed to be able to break the rules, which is what this whole video is about, to express yourself in different ways, in ways that haven't been done before. You have to break the rules in order to grow and grow the language and be creative. I totally believe in that. I believe in making up words. I believe in using sentence structure that is not what you would learn in your English book, like one-word sentences. I totally think that's cool. Stuff like that, which I talk about in more depth in my blog post, which I'll link below. But more generally, I believe in breaking the rules. But as I was making my blog post, and also as I've been writing other blog posts that I haven't published yet, but I've just been thinking about this lately, is other rules that we have for writing that are breakable, but the thing that is kind of unifying is that rules are breakable, but when you break them, it's better to do it on purpose. So I don't want to teach people about grammar so that they're always like going da-da-da-da-da, like their English teacher would tell them to write. I want to help people learn about grammar so that they can express themselves exactly the way they want to, so they can figure out new ways to express ideas, like the people on Tumblr who have figured out how to express sarcasm and irony and like rhetorical with new forms of grammar that no one's used before. And I want to help people do that because it excites me. Tell me if you feel the same way. So in my blog post, I share ideas about grammar and how it works so that people can learn to do it better. The reason I might DNF a book that has bad grammar isn't because the author is breaking the rules necessarily. It's because they don't know what they're doing. Like they're not making. One thing that bothers me a lot is comma splices. They're not doing comma splices because they're being artistic or they are trying to use this in a new way or anything like that. They're using comma splices because they don't know the difference between a comma and a semicolon and the different things that those mean. And they're using a comma instead of a semicolon because they're trying to express something in writing the same way that they would out loud, and they don't know that what they're saying out loud would use a semicolon, they think it uses a comma because they just don't know how to use semicolons or dashes. I'm totally fine with dashes. I'm not a semicolon snob. Dashes and semicolons, if you don't know, are almost entirely interchangeable, at least when it comes to not having a comma splice. You can insert either a dash or a semicolon to make it not that. But the reason that they're doing that wrong isn't that they're doing something new and expressing themselves well. It's that they don't know how to express the thing they're trying to express. And you can tell that when you read something, whether it's kind of a sense that you get that this is not being done on purpose. They're trying, when you can see what an author is trying to do and you can see them failing at it, that's really grating, and for me it really messes with absorption and what's it called? It breaks the fourth wall. It takes you out of the story when you see the author trying to do something and doing it wrong. So that's why I would DNF a book because of bad grammar. Because for one, clearly the author doesn't read that much, or they would have seen how to use a semicolon, because it's in a lot of fiction, or they would have seen how to use a dash and how people use dashes in those sentences, because dashes are even more widely used. They would just use a dash there instead of a comma. And if people don't read that much, they're probably not very good authors. Another problem along the lines of quality of writing is the flow that I talked about, which is a lot harder to pin down. It's, again, kind of a feeling, not of rule breaking, but of just when a sentence is just like, why did you write that way? Why did you put that order? Why did you put that word in that order? Or like, if the flow doesn't suit the scene that's trying to be described, like if you're using short, choppy sentences to describe a beautiful scene and you want your readers to feel like this is beautiful and you want them to feel really peaceful, but you're using short, choppy sentences that would be more apt for an action scene, or where you're trying to do something with attention, that's kind of jarring as well and kind of takes me out of the story. Not that I'm saying that your flow has to be perfect or your grammar has to be perfect or you have to always be doing things on purpose in order for your book to not be bad, but it's just, if you want your writing to be as good as it can be, it's worth looking into these things. Even though you don't have to like obey all the rules, if you know what language is doing, how to use it to express things, and what short, choppy sentences are usually used for, and why they make you feel hyped up and excited, and why lyrical sentences with lots of commas and things like that make you feel peaceful or soothing, or if you know about that and how that feels, either from experience reading or from studying it via what other people have said about it in books or blog posts, you can write better and you can express what's in your head better in the story. You can have better communication between you and your reader. And so that's basically the point of this video, being whatever you do, do it on purpose. If you're going to break the rules, do it on purpose. Do it because you want to express something that can't be expressed within the current rules, or that you want to express more precisely in a way that can't be expressed within the rules. Do it on purpose. Study writing as a craft if you're a writer. Study it as a craft, and that way you can express whatever beautiful world you've created, whatever wonderful characters you've created, and plot and stuff like that, so you can express it well and get it to the reader. Because if there's written language is the method of communication between the writer and the reader, and if the method of communication is not being used well, it's not going to get there. Along those lines, for character creation. There's a lot of rules about character creation and character's arc. Like, there has to be an arc, or the protagonist has to be whoever in your story changes the most through the story, or your point of view character has to be whoever changes the most. There's rules about tension, how to maintain it, at what point in the story you should ramp it up, at what point you should let it down. There's rules for every aspect of writing. And what I want to encourage writers to do is to learn them. Not because every book needs to follow them. Not because if a book doesn't follow them, it's bad. I think that the best things can be done not following the rules. But I want myself also, and other writers, to recognize that the rules are there for a reason. People have been writing for so long, people have been studying writing as a craft, they know things. They know what doing this or that with tension feels like to the reader. They know why people to read about a character who changes. They know why it's very dynamic and why it's very dramatic to do things this or that way. So listen to those people. Listen to the people giving advice. Learn this stuff. And the more you learn this stuff and break things down and think about writing as a craft, the better you will be able to do it. The better you will be able to come up with new ways to express ideas to your readers. The more you know, the more it can be. The more you learn about writing as a craft, the more tools you have in your toolbox to take out and use however you will. One of the most frustrating things in books I've read and in stories I've experienced, be they video games, movies, shows, whatever, one of the most frustrating things is when people try to do something but fail at it, where they're going for a picture and they think they've expressed it, but they haven't. Not to make you afraid of trying things. Try great things. Try things you're not sure you know how to do. Try new things. Try things you don't know if anybody's ever done. Try things where lots of people have done it and you don't know if you can live up to that. Try things. I don't want to discourage anyone from trying ambitious things. What I want to do is encourage you to not half do it, not lazily do it. I want to encourage you to put your all into it, learn as much as you possibly can so that you put out the best thing you can. I guess what I'm saying is not necessarily the worst thing is when people try for something and don't succeed. It's when they try for something and you feel like if they had reached just a little bit farther, if they had done a few more drafts, if they had gotten advice from a few more people who knew what they were talking about, they could have reached what they were reaching for. They could have gotten there. They could have created what they were clearly intending to create. Do your very best that you can do at any time. Don't give up too soon. Don't call something finished when it's not finished. Don't call something finished when it's not your best. And learn as much as you can. Get as much advice as you can. Not necessarily don't put anything out into the world until you think it's perfect, because you're never going to think it's perfect. But whatever you can do, do it. Learn it. Make it good. Make it the best that you can make it. And in your next work, strive to be even better and even more you and more what you want to express. So this video was about particular books I've read and about very generally books and writing. It's almost a full-on writing video. But if you liked it, I'm really glad. I plan in the future to do a mix of videos that are totally about books and aimed at readers, and also videos that are about books aimed at helping writers be better. Like, how can you learn from this book how to write better? And I also do blog posts along those lines. I do blog posts that are very much recommending books to readers as what they would want to read, and also other ones that are very much how can we learn to write better. And I want to do both and for videos. So if you like this video, you can thumb up, you can subscribe, you can share it if you like. Comment down below your feelings on what makes quality writing, what makes a good book, what makes a lousy book. I have a lot more ideas on like good books versus bad books that I want to express and want to talk about, so I'll definitely be making another video on the same topic. It's going to be more aimed at readers as far as when we're discussing books. How do we rate them? How do we decide on the quality of a book? Whereas, like, how many people like it versus how many critics like it. How much snobbery is appropriate in these circumstances, and like what's the value of different kinds of books, because there's so many different kinds that are rated at different qualities by different people because of personal taste or because of literary ideas about what quality means. So I definitely am going to be making more videos on this subject, but I think I've been blathering for quite long enough on this particular topic, so I will leave you until next week. Next week will be an art video. I do every other week art video, book video, and then I do my little chatty videos on Sundays, whereas this video and the series of art book are on Wednesdays. So if you want to tune in again, feel free. Until next time, bye!